Hey, it's Brian. Welcome to the Economic Report. Glad to have you here. And today we're talking about China, their rare earth mineral squeeze, and the metal war that no one is really talking about. So while Washington argues about spending, Beijing is buying the periodic table. Yes, we're talking about that same periodic table from chemistry class. The truth that no one is really telling you is the next world war may not be fought with missiles, but with minerals. So you may ask yourself the question, what on earth are rare earths anyway? And I would say they are 17 critical elements used in EVs as in electronic vehicles, wind turbines, smartphones, and in weapons. Invisible in daily life, but essential in modern existence. I won't quite say that China has gone ahead and cornered the market, but they are making a move. Like right now, China controls about 80% of global refining capacity. That is a choke point. Think about Rockefeller and how he ran Standard Oil. He didn't necessarily control all the oil, but he most definitely controlled refinery capacity. And Rockefeller understood that's what made the market work. And I think China is taking a page from the playbook of Rockefeller, trying to corner refinery capacity. So Western nations outsourced the dirty work decades ago, like they did not want to touch this, but now Beijing controls both supply and processing, and it's not a very enviable place, but it's not all doom and gloom. And of course, if you have a comment, drop one below, because the economic report talks about DC politics, Wall Street economics, and maybe most importantly, how it's affecting people like us on Main Street. And I do believe in the Western markets. I do believe in the ability for the United States and other Western nations, free market economies, to solve problems even like this.
Well, China is reportedly tightening its grip on critical minerals it supplies to Western defense companies. According to a Wall Street Journal report, Beijing's control over rare earths is delaying production and driving up the cost of key materials used to make weapons, jets, and drones. John Emont is a senior reporter for the Wall Street Journal. He co-wrote that piece and joins us now. John, thanks for being here with us. So what exactly is happening here? Is China cutting off all exports of these critical minerals, or just targeting defense-related uses?
Thanks. That's a great question, and thanks so much for having me. So starting in December, really, China began banning the exports of certain minerals that are needed for defense equipment, things like antimony, to the United States. And that was more or less a total ban. Then during the trade war in April, they expanded that to rare earths. It wasn't a complete ban, but they established this new system for rare earths, which are very needed in all sorts of industrial uses, but including weapon systems, including things like F-35 fighter jets and the like. And since then, there's been a lot of trade negotiations. This has hit American industry hard. We have seen a loosening of rare earths and rare earth magnet exports to the United States from China, but not so for companies that are linked to the defense industry. From what we've reported and from the people I've spoken with and my colleagues have spoken with, it remains very difficult for American defense companies to acquire these materials.
Now, John, can you give us some perspective? How reliant are we on these materials, and which systems are the most vulnerable right now?
Sure. I'm very, very reliant. So a lot of these are really niche materials, things like samarium or germanium or antimony. These aren't, minerals you would commonly think about, but they're either mainly or almost exclusively produced in China, in some cases really exclusively produced in China. So there aren't alternatives, and some of them are quite important in certain niche functions. So for example, samarium cobalt magnets are needed in a lot of military equipment that gets to a really high temperature. They're able to maintain their magnetic properties at very high temperatures. So they're needed in things like fighter jet engines. But it's really hard to get samarium right now. So
I'm going to stop right there because I think you get the picture without belaboring this episode too much longer here, hearing about rare earths. And the fact is, I really do believe in the Western markets. I do believe in capitalism, and I do believe in the capacity for the financial markets inside of the Western Hemisphere to shift gears to solve these problems. And of course, just make sure that everybody is aware why there's a need to pivot, why there's a need to play catch up in this area. And of course, when we talk about refinery capacity, well, you get the picture once again if we're thinking about the Rockefeller method. I have a story here that I will share with you. I'm just going to share some stuff to read to you about another place where they are refining. Let me go ahead and find the story for you. So in the story, it's an exclusive from Reuters, a little bit dated from October 2nd, but you get the picture here that exclusive story, China, Malaysia in talks for rare earths refinery project. And of course, Malaysia is a country that the United States does a ton of trading with. And make no question about it, the likes of people like Lutnick, like Besant are going to be part of this, but I can just give you a brief overview about how this thing works. And of course, Malaysia and Kazan, a partner to China firm, sources say China eyes Malaysian rare earth reserves. And of course, Malaysia lacks technology to do the mining and processes rare earths. Australia's Lipis runs plant in Malaysia's state of Fang. And maybe, just maybe, it's an opportunity for Australia to step into the ring, of course, because I'm sure they have the capital. And Kuala Lumpur, China and Malaysia are in early talks for a project to process rare earths with Sovereign Wealth Fund, Kazan National, likely to partner with a Chinese state-owned firm to build a refinery in the Southeast Asian nation. And of course, people familiar with the matter said. I'm sharing this with you because I think here's your classic example of a trade opportunity for the United States, for the G7, G8, whatever, to get involved with Malaysia and maybe, just maybe, put their thumb on the scale. And what does that mean? That means that we would lower tariffs. We would open our Western markets to a country like Malaysia. And of course, with that, we would also be involved in putting our finger on the scale a little bit more and either stopping this project or making sure that project works in the favor of the Western powers. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I want to remind you that the rare earth play is something very real. It's something that is investable. And if you are playing this on the stock exchange, make sure you're paying attention to ETFs that may be dealing in rare earths, and maybe, just maybe, the opportunity to do some additional investing in these areas. I would not be so sure that they don't come out with a crypto that is tied to rare earths as well. It's something that you'll want to pay attention to because it's a very, very fluid investment environment as well. And once again, I'm a guy on the internet, but I'm just raising your awareness. And of course, what do we say here? The biggest battle we're fighting is the one between our ears over our thoughts, our actions, and our attitude. And with that, on the Economic Report, we ask you to like and subscribe, folks. And remember that we're all in this together. Say hi, be kind, and make somebody else's day, folks. Until then, I'll see you next episode at the Economic Report. Thank you for joining me.